Welcome to the Further Light Podcast, presented by Wisconsin Freemasonry, helping you accomplish your Masonic goals through education and more light. And now, I present to you Brother Chris Ludtke.
This is Brother Chris Ludtke, and today I want to explore the 7 liberal arts. And this is an overview. This is a briefer version than what we did in episodes 1 through 8, but it gives a general idea of what we're dealing with the 7 liberal arts. And of course, this is part of the summer short series, so it needs to be shortened. We're going to keep this fairly brief if I ever actually get into the material. Now, this is the 7 liberal arts, an overview by Brother Chris Ludtke. This was part of an article, or this is an article that was put in the Masonic Journal as one of the Masonic education articles that we put in there every month that can be read in lodge meetings, or they're generally for education. They also include discussion questions so that you can get that discussion going and get people really interested in what you're doing in the lodge. After all, voting on lawnmowers has never taken a good man and made him better. But to the article. All Freemasons will be asked to pursue the 7 liberal arts. Although they may seem outdated or to many obsolete, I assure you they are not. Through the use of these arts, we find a path towards understanding, a path towards self-improvement, to fulfill our quest to smooth the rough ashlar. The 7 liberal arts are key to understanding Freemasonry and arguably to understand our world, despite their age. And as a side note, the 7 liberal arts were originally added by Preston way back in the 18th century for the purpose of introducing them to Masons, sort of a Masonic college happening at a time when most people did not attend higher education. With that aside, what are the 7 liberal arts and sciences? The term liberal arts comes from the Latin word liber, which means to free. Thus, it was believed that the 7 liberal arts would free one through the knowledge gained in each of the various disciplines. And they are composed of 2 families, containing 3 and respectively 4 arts. This 3 plus 4 structure is critical to understanding how these arts complement each other. We will discuss the division shortly, but first let's review the 7 liberal arts and sciences. First, we have the trivium. These first 3 lay the base of the 7 liberal arts, starting with grammar, which defines the rules used to construct phrases, sentences, words, and connects these elements to communicate ideas in a language. An understanding of this first art is necessary to comprehension and basic communication. It's the rules of communication, whether written or spoken. Rhetoric is the art of using language to persuade. Once a student learns how to read and write properly, they are now prepared to manipulate words, form arguments, and express complex ideas. Mastering rhetoric is an intermediate step before delving into the more complex domain of logic. Then we have logic, or dialectic, which is the reasoning which seeks to confront and contrast ideas, identify which are correct and which are not, remove ambiguity, and measure, compare, analyze, prove, and demonstrate facts with clarity. Grammar is the mechanics of a language. Rhetoric is the use of the language to instruct and persuade. Logic is the mechanics of thinking clearly, of comparison and analysis. With these tools, we can proceed to the second family that is composed of 4 arts. This is the quadrivium. And here we see arithmetic, geometry, harmony or music, and astronomy. Arithmetic, from the Greek word for number, is the oldest and most elementary branch of mathematics, used for tasks ranging from simple day-to-day counting to advanced science and business calculations. Geometry, from the ancient Greek geo for earth and metra, measure, is part of the mathematics concerned with questions of size, shape, and relative position of figures with properties of space. So these two work together. Arithmetic gives you the ability to function with numbers, and geometry allows you to apply them to the measurement of things. Harmony, or music, is an art form whose medium is sound organized in time. Music theory also relies considerably on mathematics, number theory, and the laws of arithmetic. As an aside, music is there for a couple of reasons. One, that Masons should be lovers of the arts and sciences, but the second being that when the liberal arts were created, the idea was that there was this sort of overarching vibration or harmony that brought the world together. Very old idea, the music of the spheres and these sorts of concepts, which I explore more in an earlier episode when I go into each of the 7 liberal arts. Then astronomy is the scientific study of celestial objects. Historically, astronomy has included disciplines as diverse as meteorology, the motion of celestial objects, celestial navigation, the making of calendars, documenting historical facts, and divining the future in the form of astrology. In ancient thinking, it was the discipline of the motion of all objects through space and time. Astronomy was also critical in the study of philosophy and theology, as everything divine or spiritual comes from the heavens. Without it, what was left was considered earthly and profane. Now, why this 3+4 system with the arts? Well, the first 3 arts, grammar, logic, and rhetoric, form the 3 ancient arts of discourse, or the trivium. From ancient Greece to the late 19th century, the trivium was a fundamental path in education, used to train public speakers and writers to direct audiences to action with their arguments. The trivium does not address any specific subject. Instead, it teaches the student to read and write, debate, compare, analyze, and make conclusions. So grammar is learning and organizing language, rhetoric is shaping an argument and persuading using the language, and logic is reasoning and questioning as well as thinking with language. Lawyers, public servants, military officers, and teachers rely on the mastery of the trivium to perform their duties and influence people. The knowledge of discourse and persuasion came originally from the schools of Aristotle, Plato, and Socrates in ancient Greece. The trivium was the beginning of the liberal arts. The quadrivium would complete the student's formal education. The teaching of the quadrivium assumes that the trivium, the first 3, have been fully mastered. Now the student is prepared to explore other sciences. Considering the rise in complexity from basic grammar to measuring the motions of planets, it's natural to conclude that the trivium teaches expression, communication, and critical thinking, laying the foundation to understand the 4 sciences that open the universe to be measured and understood. Why liberal? Those who were slaves or not completely free would never receive a full education. Therefore, the curriculum was named the Free Arts and Sciences. Alternatively, we could also consider that once one achieves such an education, they would be free from the chains of ignorance and allowed to govern their own life instead of being governed by mere circumstance. Finally, you could argue that the spiritual and intellectual enlightenment allows us to become free from fatalism, this idea that our fate is already written and there's nothing we can do about it. The learned man is a free man, liberated by the sciences. So in conclusion, if we are to become better men, we must work on being better able to understand our world. These 7 branches of knowledge lay the foundation on which we can build our knowledge of any subject, from history to geometry. These 7 liberal arts charge us to continue to be learners. Education does not stop with graduation. We must work to improve ourselves through a greater understanding of the world around us. By developing our understanding, by using the attentive ear to learn from the instructive tongue of so many prior generations, we improve as men and smooth the edges of the rough ashlar. This piece written by Brother Chris Lidke. When we look at the 7 liberal arts, they lay out a foundation. And while we may sit there and say that modern ideas such as propaganda or computer science aren't really in there, but they are, because the trivium lays the foundation for just about any learning you're going to do. And most of those other things can be neatly fit into other categories. For example, computer science, computer programming is nothing more than the use of logic with an understanding of elements of mathematics. Any of the arts are covered under music. So we have these different ideas in there, and they lay a basis. And maybe it's something that you didn't get. Maybe you don't feel that you have a good background in these areas. There are books and there is information out there about the trivium, about each of these liberal arts. And for a more extensive look at them, again, look back at episodes 1 through 8 of the Further Light podcast. Thank you for joining me, Brother Chris Lidke, and the entire Further Light team on your quest to find more light through Masonry.
Are you interested in learning more about Freemasonry in Wisconsin? Visit wisconsinmasons.org to learn more about Masonry and access further educational content and more light. Once again, that address is wimasons.org. Any questions, comments, or suggestions, please email us at education@wisconsinmasons.org. And thank you for listening.